You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning. It's Friday, September 2nd. And thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all of your social media platforms. We're live Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're on Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story presented. But until we get into all of this, we're going to pay a bill, and we'll be right back after this message.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us at High at 9 News Hour. Coming up first, we have the dope dad himself. When he's not babysitting, doing daycare, or dropping his children off at school, being an amazing role model, father for all fathers to adore. It is none other than the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte, who when he's not being a dope dad, he constantly practices, brushes up on his football skills, and backpedals on safe banking. That's right. It is Rico Lamitte.
Thank you very much, Jason. And on this beautiful Friday morning, and this heat wave coming through Los Angeles right now, I'm dropping the kids off at the pool today. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean there. But my story is from People Magazine by Jack Irvin. Jay-Z addresses failed drug war and on the new DJ Khaled collab. My goal is to make real ones feel seen. DJ Khaled's new album, God Did, released this morning, and the title track featuring Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, and John Legend on the hook has the internet all in their feelings. And not from the throwaway verses by Rick Ross and once again heavily auto-tuned Wheezy, but the epic 5-minute verse from Hove. Everyone from the traditional media outlets, Rolling Stone, BuzzFeed, Complex, The Independent, popular podcasters and social media influencers, Bomani Jones, Charlie Kirk, Fox News, MSNBC. Everybody seemed to have an instant opinion on the GOAT's words, making the 52-year-old mogul and MC the highest trending topic on Twitter yesterday afternoon following the track's early leak, and for good cause. Many called out Jay's hypocrisy for playing the part of a man of the people, but also being a corporate shill time after time, inking deals with brands negatively tied to black plight like the NFL and Tiffany's. The debate revolves around Jay rhyming about his own drug dealing experiences, both illegally and legally, through his life to address America's draconian drug laws. Per the article, referencing his infamous past as a Brooklyn drug dealer, the 50-year-old rap icon begins his verse asking God to forgive him for using Stovetop to make drugs before becoming famous. In the song, he praises his journey since and how much black wealth came from his Rock Nation movement, Kanye West and Rihanna becoming billionaires, and indirectly LeBron James, who isn't signed to Rock Nation Sports Agency, but was blessed early in his career with the Rockefeller chain and is often associated and aligned closely with Jay and his cohorts. So technically, he's the fourth. When Lyrics began discussing cannabis legalization and how he now sells weed through the parent company, which earned him another Forbes article, judge it how you judge it. Say we going corporate. He spits in retaliation to any critics, then shouting out Rihanna and her manager, Jay Breezy Brown, as he spits the next line. Breezy, what the business is. We pushing Fenty like fentanyl. The shit is all legitimate. As the face of this high-end monogram pre-rolls, later on in the verse, he describes his own shock at seeing friends going from life on the streets to smoking weed legally. Odds wasn't great. We'd even be alive. Gotta be crazy to y'all. We surprised. Shit is too much how we grew up. Shit don't even feel real to us. He ends the epic verse referencing U.S. drug laws and the politicians creating them before tying in yet another entendre, noting that he's got lawyers to fight back any resistance for, quote, those who make the laws. I'ma always have smoke for them. I got lawyers like shooters working pro bono for him as a favor. The song's verse caught the ear of MSNBC's Ari Melber, who's made a name for himself dropping rap lyrics in his nightly broadcast, regularly responded to by looks of confusion by all of his guests. Melber did a line-by-line evaluation of the verse, explaining specifically to his white viewers why it's so relevant and important for them to listen rather than to engage, highlighting the infamous 1996 Louis Farrakhan Mike Wallace interview referenced by Jay in the closing bars. For those of you unfamiliar, Mike Wallace was torn apart verbally by the divisive Nation of Islam leader in response to being scolded for visiting Nigeria, the African nation Wallace calls the most corrupt nation in the world. And here is the clip. Let's see if I can do this correctly here. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Well, I see you. I don't see an additional screen. There we go. Now we got it.
Is legal corruption with some of the most expensive campaigns in the world, and many critiques of U.S. foreign policy, which brings us to this 1996 exchange between Louis Farrakhan and CBS's Mike Wallace.
You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world.
35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now, here's America, 226 years old. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet. When you have spilled the blood of human beings, has Nigeria dropped an atomic bomb and killed people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Have they killed off millions of Native Americans? How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet.
Can you think of one more corrupt?
Yeah, I'm living in one. I'm living in one. I didn't mean to be so fiery.
No, that's good. That's good.
That's my passion.
Rico, we can't hear you.
All right, you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I apologize for the echo there. If there was an echo in yours like there was in mine, but you heard it yourself directly from the Black Donald Trump himself, Louis Farrakhan. But the interview alludes to Jay-Z's place in the cannabis industry and how it's fair game to be criticized by Black operators, but others should watch, listen, and learn because it's not their turn to speak. We had a similar conversational track this week with me and Roz McCarthy and discussing white-led unions talking out of turn, believing that they know what's best for social equity and Black cannabis operators in Seattle. My good friend Kristen Yoder owns a quirky t-shirt company called Cynical Stoner, with one of the shirt phrases reading, Friends don't let friends buy corporate cannabis. I told her I wanted mine with an asterisk at the end and in small print put unless it's black owned. The rules don't and shouldn't apply to the same to black operators because if it weren't for MSOs and large corporations being forced to offer us a chance to compete in a game we made cool, an industry where illegal operators of all races maneuvered, yet our communities bore the brunt of legal backlash, we don't have the capital to make the successful moves our white counterparts do, so we shouldn't be viewed through the same critical lens either. The barrier of entry is too high, and with current black ownership in the industry less than 2%, not many have done more than lip service to fix that problem. But Hove did. It's the double-edged sword many black operators have to deal with trying to make it in the industry and will be criticized endlessly leading up to and through federal legalization. The struggle is real. And how can you truly call yourself of the people, but you're supporting the machine of American branded capitalism that's constantly kept your people down? The conversation is complicated. And while I agree wholeheartedly with Jay here that it's our conversation to have amongst our own, I'm interested in hearing everybody else's take on this. This is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. What say you, news team?
I mean, I'm really glad that Jay-Z is getting behind this and amplifying this type of message. But I also feel like a lot of the celebrities that are doing it now and starting to amplify it are only doing it because it's cool in the social media space, and the messages have been amplified to where it's cool to be promoting this, because they definitely weren't promoting this 10 or 15 fucking years ago when they had just as much of an amplified voice.
I don't agree with that about Jay-Z. Jay-Z has literally been talking about pushing packs since as long as Jay-Z has been in like a figment of any of our imaginations as far as an artist is concerned. So like, just like I talked about yesterday, like Tommy Chong might not be the idea of what we want as our image. It still moved the needle. And the fact that he's been talking about it and having the conversation about it, I think it's not like he's been hiding.
I don't know if I agree with that, Nicole. I think, I was at CWCB earlier this year where Redman openly criticized Jay-Z for Too Little Too Late.
Right.
There are plenty of other people who've been in this game much longer, who never took endorsements, never got behind corporate shit because they wanted to stay real to the movement. And he never did. And just to, buy a cannabis brand now makes him, a part of the crew. I don't buy it.
Yeah, he's definitely no Cypress Hill or Redman, but
something going on with your.
There's something
going
wrong
on
with
you. You got some major static going on, Stone Slade. I don't know what happened, but you sounded amazing earlier.
Yeah, talk again. Try again. No sound.
A quick response to you, Gretchen. It wasn't. Redman's criticism wasn't. It's too little, too late. His criticism to Jay-Z was, you don't even know anything about cannabis. You're not part of the cannabis culture. And so he was criticizing him for trying to own the conversation when he's not really of the culture and he doesn't really know shit about weed.
Well, that was a great story, Rico. Thank you so much for covering that.
Nobody wants to touch it.
On Friday. With that said, we're going to go ahead and move to our next correspondence. We are at time on that headline. We definitely are not going to stop following, I think, the Jay-Z saga. We've been seeing the development of, this business. And as we always talk about, follow the money. He's definitely got some. So with that said, Mr. Jason Beck, longest running retailer in the history of cannabis across the globe. Probably one of the only people that I would like to say is in my close circle that is a avid supporter of Mr. Donald Trump. And I would like
supporter
to say
of truth and freedom.
I would like to say our very own Kaiser Brose. What do you have for us today, Jason?
Oh, yes. Good morning. Live from Mar-a-Lago. And where I have Liz Grow with me today. She's visiting from Texas, the great red state of Texas.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is it's thrilling to be here at Mar-a-Lago with you.
Yes.
And, it was bring your favorite Texan to work day.
I love it. I love it.
Sorry, Stone.
I mean,
I take offense to that. I hope I sound better now.
Nope, you still sound like trash.
But you look good.
Austin dumpster fires.
All right, but nonetheless, I'm going to get into the story because cannabis researchers say it's high time to drop the lazy stoner stereotype. That's right. Cannabis users are often depicted as lazy stoners whose life ambitions span little further than lying on the sofa eating chips. But research from the University of Cambridge challenges the stereotype, showing that regular users appear no more likely to lack motivation compared with non-users. The research also found no difference in motivation for rewards, pleasure taken from rewards, or the brain's response when seeking rewards compared with non-users. We're so used to seeing lazy stoners on our screens that we don't stop to ask whether they're an accurate representation, said Martine Schooliman, a PhD student at the University of Cambridge and the research's first author. He says, our work implies that people who use cannabis are no more likely to lack motivation or be lazier than people who don't. Skolman said smoking cannabis could be associated with other downsides, but the stoner stereotype is stigmatizing, he says, and could make messages around harm reduction less effective. We need to be honest and frank about what we are and what we are not, the harmful consequences of drug use, she added. Cannabis is the third most commonly used controlled substance worldwide after alcohol and nicotine, with a 2018 NHS report finding that almost 1 in 5, basically 19% of 15-year-olds in England had used cannabis in the previous 12 months. The stoner stereotype has been depicted in fictional characters such as Danny the drug dealer in Withdrawal and with Nail and I, the dude in The Big Lebowski, and Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad. And the idea that sustained cannabis use leads to all-encompassing lethargy has been a pillar of public anti-drug campaigns, such as the Stoner Sloth campaign in Australia. The latest research published by the International Journal of Neuropharmacology involved 274 adolescents and adult cannabis users who had used cannabis at least weekly over the past 3 months, with an average of 4 days a week, and a group of non-users matched for age and gender. Participants completed questionnaires to measure anhedonia, ANHEDONIA for the doctors out there, lack of pleasure, basically, and apathy levels, such as how much they enjoy being with family and friends, or how likely they were to see a job through the end. Cannabis users scored slightly lower than non-users of anhedonia, appearing better able to enjoy themselves, but there was no difference when it came to apathy. The researchers also found no link between frequency of cannabis use and either apathy or anhedonia in the people who use cannabis. In work published earlier in the year, the team also showed no difference in the brain responses to reward in cannabis users compared with non-users, and all participants were sober during the study, and it is possible that people's motivation would wane while under the influence of the drug. The question is being investigated in the next phase of research. Professor Barbara Sakihan, a neuroscientist at University of Cambridge, said, our evidence indicates that cannabis use does not appear to have an effect on motivation or recreational users. However, we cannot rule out the possibility that greater use, as seen in some people with cannabis use disorder, has any effect. Well, I say to you Joe Bidens of the world that want more research, here it is, fucktards. And I'm Jason Beck reporting for the High at Noon Hour.
Whoa, that was aggressively offensive. That sign up that one.
We need the problematic light.
You know what? I'm egging him on. It's just like it's a conservative think tank here.
Yes, conservative
right now.
think tank. Yes.
Can you guys? Am I sounding better now? So,
yeah, you
sound
better.
I just wanted to jump in. I get this 51 years of research. I can tell you. Am I bad? 51 years of research. And all the motivation and gump, like, I don't know, man. That's the time to kick. Hey, that stoner stereotype is out there, but he's a nice guy, and there's no reason to be mean to him. But that's not what stoners are as a whole. So,
Stone the stoner. You have a little bit of like a little bit of feedback still on the end. You sound a lot better, but it's like
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
you're
like
still a little bit there, bro.
cockroaches.
But we were able to understand you.
Cockroaches in the cabinet. It sounds like after every word you speak.
I know. I love that story so much. It's just it's just bad marketing for decades and decades. People are now just realizing that it's been bad marketing, and this industry needs more competent spokespeople, and that's why I'm glad that High at 9 News exists.
So
it's like tap into the story with
I
people
love
who
it.
actually know.
I love it as like a reality because, like, yes, look at all of the productive people on on the panel that listen to our show across the globe. But at the end of the day, like when I take a dab, I take a nap. Like when there's a few things, like I'm not saying that I'm not ultra productive also, but there's a few ways of smoking that will put me down. Like if I eat edibles, that is how I go to sleep, like, so the idea that it doesn't slow you down or help you sleep or make
Edibles were not included in this study, Nicole. It was strictly about smoking weed.
Okay.
Yes, this was strictly about smoking weed, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
Edibles are just a prescription for a good night's rest.
I stand down because smoking, I feel okay about, like, daily do everything, but once I take a dab or once I do edibles, then I'm like,
we're functional stoners. But we have Malik from the Clubhouse audience.
Jesse Pinkman was a meth head. He was not a fucking pothead.
Jesse Pinkman was, he was smoking weed in like the second season. He was fucking, and then that's when he got mad at him and like kicked him out of the meth lab, is because he was smoking weed.
Who's up from the audience?
We have Malik up from the audience. What do you have to say on this, Malik?
Hey, I love the topic. I guess those guys were on TV. We talked about real life. One point we had the fastest person on earth and the fastest swimmer. All people actively smoking weed. So I don't agree with that.
Yes.
Great.
Also too.
Great.
Also, 100% Malik. Also too. We had a story yesterday about a Cambodian Olympian who won the gold medal, and then got his lungs taken out by the Cambodian government.
That's not exactly
He did not drink enough breast milk.
We're in time on that story for sure.
You're comparing it to alcohol and tobacco use. Alcohol, you ain't gonna get hella shit done after you go drink. You go drink and you're making bad decisions. So I don't know. I'm gonna go smoke my weed to get stuff done, and I agree. Sometimes smoke my dab or hit my pen or whatever it is when I need to do some edibles.
Amazing, Malik. Thank you so much for your comments today. This was fantastic.
Singapore lung removal, standard practice.
Yes.
Who said that? Oh, the comments are
El Guapo.
funny.
Yes.
What's up, Guap?
Just is what it is.
Guap Dad 4000.
Getting this comments.
Rico, I think you got the next one.
Let's do it. So this business, agriculture, and efficiency specialist has over a dozen industry years of experience and enough trivial knowledge to have once been called jail Google by fellow inmates while she was locked up doing a bid in Colorado. Coming to the stage next, you know who it is. She's the bullshit busting general data bitch herself, Nichole West. What do you have?
So I switched up my story. I was originally going to cover one story, but I want to give this number real quick so everyone has this data. The Allied Corp successfully ships the largest international shipment of cannabis flower in history, and we were just talking about it yesterday. And so I wanted everyone to know kind of what numbers are moving as far as volumes. So in June, it was 272 kilos. In July, it was 200 kilos. In August, it was 1,700 kilos, and in just this month, by the end of August, it was 3,400 kilos. So 7,000 pounds is the average or the largest shipment so far to date internationally that's gone out. But my headline got switched mid-show because Nick Bradley actually threw this in the DMs, which I love a little spice, which is SEC sues Ignite. Discloses criminal investigation. So this is a heater. So the cannabis bad boy, Dan Bilzerian, and his company Ignite Brands have asked the Security and Exchange Commission for a break while it faces criminal charges. The SEC has just said no and is now suing the company. In a case filed earlier this week, the SEC is suing Ignite Brands Ltd. for failing to produce documents as it attempts to pursue an accounting fraud investigation. Ignite wants the investigative subpoena stayed as the criminal authorities conduct an investigation. The SEC argues that just because the company is facing multiple investigations, it can't ask the SEC to stand down. The SEC case exposed Ignite confessed it under a criminal investigation. According to the SEC case, the SEC staff have uncovered information indicating that respondent may have failed public financial statements that include false or misleading representations regarding the revenues earned and recognized in the company's fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020. In May of 2022, the SEC told Ignite's counsel that the company needed to provide certain documents. The company said it would comply by June 15th, but then asked for an extension to July 15th. On June 30th, some documents were sent to the SEC, but it wasn't everything that they had asked for, while the company described it as a meaningful start. According to the complaint, the SEC asked for documents relating to Ignite's accounting policies on revenue recognition and other accounting issues Ignite internal financial reporting disclosed. Ignite's internal audit work papers, communications between Ignite and its external auditor on revenue recognition, Ignite's sales forecast and budgeting, Ignite's general ledgers and journal entries and sales transactions have all been subpoenaed. Instead, Ignite sent copies of third-party agreements for various services related to respondents' products, board meeting minutes, and internal organizational charts. I just imagine all these fucking hot chicks on the org chart.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Subjectively
paper that's getting
Oh my
stuffed right
God.
now, getting fed to
Subjectively
the
hot
paper
chicks.
shredders.
None of those chicks had enough booty.
No, they're all beautiful. It's okay. It's okay. They're all beautiful. But
Just
according
because they don't have BBLs, Rico?
According to the complaint, the SEC asked for documents relating to Ignite's accounting policies on revenue recognition, and they're not able to provide those. So the big picture is this headline also came out of Green Market Report. Deborah, I can never pronounce her, Brochart. She's amazing, is one of the original founders of Green Market Report, and she wrote this article, and I'm just rolling on the floor laughing about this because I called it like 3 years ago that this was going to be something that eventually got looked into because there was no fucking way, absolutely no way that this was going down in a legal fashion and or managing their money correctly. So I'm curious what everyone in the audience or the stage has to say about Dan Bilzerian and Ignite. And thanks, Nick Bradley, for sliding into the DMs with this headline.
Shout out to Nick Bradley.
Yeah, and I'm Nichole West getting high at 9 with y'all.
Shout out to Nick for the nod on this one. It's been
Nicole,
developing, but the information is awesome. This is great.
This is
So
basically
good, juicy.
what you have told me is that the brand Ignite has literally been ignited and is going to get engulfed in flames of sparked by government intervention.
Overreach? Is that what you're gonna say, Jason? Overreach? I think I like two things here. We know where all the fucking money went. It went into that fucking house in his party. He's fucking throwing with all those all those.
He's on PJs a lot too. He's definitely on PJs a lot. So I'm sure some of it went into PJs.
Well, that's all from poker money, right?
No, that's another conversation for another time. But the second thing is, it sounds like he and his legal team are taking a page from, drum roll please, Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton.
No, but okay, no, stop it, guys.
Giving them the runaround.
But that we're not going there, guys.
I'm not trying to go deep into it, but he's giving them the runaround like Trump is. He's asked for a bunch of government information, asking for the paperwork and all the things.
Runaround.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's not make that comparison. I appreciate the what's happening, but we don't need to make that comparison. We don't need to keep going down that fucking rabbit hole. But with most of his investors, I think the interesting part, his dad is like a corporate raider. Like he got money from like his daddy's friends, so like this
lost more money playing poker than made.
Oh, absolutely.
it's such a juicy story if you just like start to like unpeel the onion, and you know, it is a train wreck that you can see happening, and it's just so fucking juicy.
It's like
'Cause
you're
he's
watching
just
like
such a horrible
this.
person, though.
I'm
But he's the
enjoying
one
it.
you want to see go down in flames. I think I just speak for
I don't know.
myself, but it's really fun to watch. I think
I've seen
I've
Omar.
seen him once in person. He's
I see Omar has unmiked, and so Omar. Do you have something to comment on this from a legal perspective?
Yes, I think Dan Bilzerian is living proof that if you want to make a small fortune in cannabis, you got to start with a large fortune.
That is great, great legal advice right there.
Omar Bars
yes,
Figueroa.
That was great.
We need to drop a beat behind that one.
Yes, indeed. I think well, the whole Ignite saga, we all saw that shit coming. They were at best just a marketing company that came through with a bunch of scantily clad women when the industry was moving away from that, especially in the lane that he was trying to play in. The whole thing with Bilzerian, like, I don't want to make any like personal attacks on him, but I did really enjoy watching him on Instagram attempting to take a blowtorch and light an e-nail.
Was it a boring blowtorch?
Oh my God.
Showing his dabbing prowess. He fucking had an e-nail and was lighting it with a fucking blowtorch. Try to say he's a man of the people as well. Just say he's part of the culture. Come on, bro.
All right. Well, we are definitely at time on that. All right.
Yes.
We're at time
I
on
think
that
it's
headline.
time for the relight.
It
I think
is.
it's a relight
Thank
time.
you for that one, Nicole. That was excellent.
Yes.
Dude, thank you, Nick Bradley, for fucking dropping that in the DMs.
Good job. Thank you, our
that was
audience out there.
Solid slide. So, the thoughts and opinions and general shade thrown on the High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status, substance, any country, area, territory of its authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. Our sponsors do not apply, constitute the endorsement by us, the expression, any opinion whatsoever part of any person or any speaker on stage. If you're easily offended person, this show is probably not for you. Also, fuck off.
Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX. Located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
Let's keep rolling. Up next, she splits her days and nights between political strategy and baking delicious treats, but don't let the kitchen game fool you. She's a full-time, feisty, redheaded conservative with Mayflower roots and may or may not be running an underground dogfighting ring fueled by safe banking money. Coming to the stage next, the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. What you got for us today?
Good afternoon, Rico. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. Pennsylvania governor announces month-long marijuana pardon project to expedite relief. The governor of Pennsylvania launched a month-long marijuana pardon project yesterday to expedite relief for people with low-level cannabis convictions on their records. Governor Tom Wolf and Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman said that thousands of Pennsylvanians will be eligible for relief through the Pennsylvania Marijuana Pardon Project, which will be facilitated by the State Board of Pardons. While the legislature has so far failed to enact cannabis legalization despite calls for reform by the top state officials, the Wolf-Fetterman administration has made a point of working to resolve the collateral consequences of marijuana-related convictions, and this is the latest iteration. Wolf said in a press release, "I have repeatedly called on our Republican-led General Assembly to support the legalization of adult-use marijuana, but they've yet to meet this call for action from myself and Pennsylvanians. Until they do, I'm committed to doing everything in my power to support Pennsylvanians who have been adversely affected by a minor marijuana offense on their record." From September 1st to the 30th, the Board of Pardons will accept applications for accelerated relief from those with certain cannabis convictions involving up to 30 grams of marijuana or 8 grams of hashish. He said nobody should be turned down for a job, housing, or volunteering at your child's school because of some old nonviolent weed charge, especially given that most of us don't even think that this should be illegal. This is according to Fetterman. who is a legalization advocate. He chairs the pardons board, previously said that he wanted to process cannabis clemency for as many people as possible before leaving office. There's already a process through which people can get their marijuana records clear that the officials have routinely promoted, but the Pennsylvania Marijuana Pardon Project is a one-time opportunity to expedite clemency for select offenses. People can submit application regardless of when the conviction took place. While pardons represent full forgiveness for the conviction, the governor's office stressed that eligible people will still need to separately petition the courts to have their records formally expunged. This pardon project has the potential to open the door for thousands of Pennsylvanians, the college grad looking to start their career, the grandparent who's been wanting to chaperone a field trip, or any Pennsylvanian who's been told no for much needed assistance. Now is your chance. While Democratic legislators in the states have largely praised the announcement, Jason Goetzman, as spokesman for House Majority Leader Kerry Benninghoff, slammed the move, saying it amounts to a literal get-out-of-jail-free card that is outside the normal scope of the pardons process, lacks serious oversight, and does even more to pick winners and losers in the criminal justice reform process. Ultimately, it reeks of 11th-hour desperation from an administration in search of a legacy. Instead of granting hyper-light-speed pardons based on what they wish the law to be, they instead should work with the legislature on real reform, not a sideshow for a major office candidate. That last line is in reference to Fetterman, who is also running for the U.S. Senate and has pledged to push for an end to federal marijuana prohibition if he's elected. I am sad to say that I cannot agree more with Mr. Goetzman. I think that this is a last-minute ditch effort by the Wolf and Fetterman administration to prove that they've done something. This has nothing to do with cannabis policy. This has to do with Wolf having done dick for his entire administration. He did nothing except keep businesses and good car people out of work because of COVID. And it went so far as to go to the Supreme Court to look at that effort. Wolf has done nothing. He's trying to prop up Fetterman. This is all a sideshow. I hope it works, but I'm most likely thinking it won't. I agree with Goetzman that you still have to formally petition. So if you don't have the money for a lawyer, this ain't going to do anything for you. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
I have a question, Gretchen. Are they trying to prop Fetterman up because maybe his hospital bed broke and he can only lay flat down on his back?
It's a little harsh. We will see. We will see how they prop him up at the Labor Day parade. I'd like to see him off the parade. But we will see on Monday.
Is he gonna have a stick in his back?
Probably.
Come on, hey, we don't want to go down that route either. But Gretchen, would you say this is maybe a nod to them thinking that they might be in trouble and they're trying to get something last minute done before there's a Republican takeover of Dr. Mehmet Oz?
I don't think that they're in trouble. I'm saying they've done nothing else. And cannabis is the only thing that they're going to try and take a stand on. That's the only thing that the Wolf administration has tried to do for the past 4 years. They haven't done shit. And that's truly Fetterman's key issue because he can't talk to inflation. He can't talk to much else. Frankly, the man can't speak. And that will be seen when he tries and goes out in public. It's been seen. People are like, this guy's not all there. He is not physically able to do the job. But this is just another grandstanding last-minute hope by Democrats trying to do something. Pennsylvania is a shit show. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see people pardon. I would love to see this happen. But again, it's going to take attorneys. This is not a just raise your hand, please take my name off the list. That's not how it works. I mean,
exactly.
Anyone that's worked in criminal justice by the applicants for this to happen.
You can't exactly. Anyone that's worked in criminal justice reform knows that it takes a series of legal events and a number of filed documents in order to be able to accomplish these amazing criminal justice acts.
I do think this program will move people to the front of the line. I think it will take them out of maybe a stack of, paperwork that's been building up over the years. But I do think you still need to run the gauntlet of the legal process to make it work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that headline, Gretchen. And definitely an interesting conversation. And I hope that it does work out, but you are probably 100% right. And it's going to still be for those that can afford legal representation.
Well, I thought that was the golden rule. The one with the gold makes the rules.
Yep. There it is. So up next, we have Stone Slade. Our next correspondent has been exposed to cannabis his entire life, being born into the Grateful Dead family in the early 70s. Stone Slade is the host host and co-creator of the new show that's currently in production called Hitting the High Road, where he's going to smoke, dab, and infuse his way across the U.S. and shed light on the myths and misconceptions of the controversial Mary Jane. Stone, what do you have for us today?
Hello, everybody. Hopefully, my sounds no.
Oh no, your apologies.
I don't know what happened. I sound so good before the show.
You
I think it's
so
in your
good.
cord. I think it's something to do with your cord. It sounds like there's something to do with your cord.
Something terrible happened. I think we have to go to our next correspondent and try again. Do you think Omar's on in Clubhouse?
Omar is in Clubhouse. He is present.
I am present.
Present, ready. Okay.
Omar coming.
All right. Can somebody run his? Let me pull up
Here. Hold on one second.
bio.
I have it right here. Founder of cannabis law firm with offices in California and New York, director of National Cannabis Industry Association, legal publisher, and author whose 2022 California cannabis laws and regulations was just recently released and you can purchase somewhere on Google somewhere. He's also a ganjier, a cannabis sommelier, and a purple belt, high style Brazilian jiu-jitsu motherfucker that will kick your ass. Coming up next to the stage, he'll also defend your ass because he's an amazing lawyer. He was actually the first lawyer I ever used to defend me in a legal case. And it is none other than the Omar Figueroa.
Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. My story is from Marijuana Moment by Kyle Jager, and the headline is Dr. Oz admits marijuana is a safer solution than prescription drugs while attacking Senate rival Fetterman over legalization support. Dr. Oz again took aim at his U.S. Senate opponent over his support for marijuana legalization. But after being pressed on his past comments on the issue, he conceded that, yes, he's personally in favor of medical cannabis, saying that it's a safer solution compared to certain prescription drugs like opioids. Mehmet Oz, a former TV health personality, claimed during an interview with Fox News on Thursday that Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman wants to legalize all drugs and doesn't want to talk about issues that he says are more important to Pennsylvanians. The host pressed GOP candidate Oz on marijuana policy, asking for his reaction to the Democratic Senate nominee's recent call for President Joe Biden to use executive authority to decriminalize marijuana ahead of his visit to Pittsburgh on Monday for a Labor Day parade, where Fetterman plans to speak with the president about cannabis reform. Oz was also asked what he made of the newly announced initiative from Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf and Fetterman to expedite pardons for people with low-level marijuana convictions on the records through the month of September. Fetterman, who chairs the State Board of Pardons, previously said he wants to process cannabis clemency for as many people as possible before leaving office. Listen, my issue is that he wants to legalize all drugs, Oz said misleadingly. He even supports heroin injection sites, and we have the largest open-air drug market in the country here in Philadelphia. It is destroying the city. While Fetterman does back harm reduction approaches to substance misuse, including authorizing safe drug consumption sites, he's campaigned on legalizing cannabis and says he would support decriminalizing possession of other currently illicit substances. Polls show that nationally, most Americans favor allowing overdose prevention sites, and 58% of Pennsylvanians back adult use cannabis legalization. But Oz nonetheless argued that his opponent's drug policy reform platform shows that he's out of touch with what's going on in Pennsylvania and is completely missing the target. The interview then turned to the GOP nominee's own cannabis record, with the host pointing out that it was just 2 years ago, Oz called marijuana one of the most underused tools in America, saying that the plant is safer than alcohol. Oh no, I'm supportive of medical marijuana, Oz clarified. I think with the doctor's involvement, especially for seniors who have end-of-life issues suffering from pain, I think it's a safer solution than, for example, narcotics in many cases. But it has to be studied, and we have to understand it, and therefore physicians should be involved. I don't want to give marijuana to every young person in America who's struggling with getting through their day, he added, seeming to imply that would occur under the broader legalization plan Fetterman backs. We already have a problem with folks getting mobilized to enter the workforce. I think that's a slippery slope. Fetterman previously said that farmers in his state could grow better marijuana than people in New Jersey, and that was one reason why Pennsylvania should expeditiously reform its cannabis laws. The race for Pennsylvania governor has also put cannabis policy in the spotlight, with a pro-reform Democratic nominee Attorney General Josh Shapiro competing against the aggressively anti-legalization Republican State Senator Doug Mastriano. My take is the winds of freedom are blowing in Pennsylvania, and I hope that state legislators get the chance of a lifetime to legalize cannabis in the Keystone State. I'm curious to hear what everyone has to say. The headline is Dr. Oz admits marijuana is a safer solution than prescription drugs while attacking Senate rival Fetterman over legalization support. This is Omar Figueroa, lawyer, publisher, and ganja instructor, reporting from beautiful Northern California for High at 9.
I love this story, Omar. Thank you so much for bringing this up. And just as I told you guys all again that he would evolve, and just as you see it in this story, there is the pivot.
In 2 weeks.
Yes.
In 2 weeks, the evolution.
Bro, I told you it was going to happen, bro. I told you it was in the works, bro.
It's called a flip-flop, Jason. A flip-flop. This is not...
No, that's called a pivot, Gretchen. That's a stiff pivot right there. Yes. It's a stiff pivot because he's the one holding the ball.
Flip-flops with common footwear at Mar-a-Lago.
I do want to give a compliment to Omar's storytelling skills. I wish that like he would read all like fairy tales. Your voices are amazing. I was like, I felt like I was like, I knew who was a part of it, and I'm like,
you get
I felt
entranced in it.
Yeah, Omar, you're being a good storyteller is a very amazing skill, and you're great at that, Omar. And that was
well, thank you. Maybe I'll use it in front of juries.
You should, Omar.
Has really helped me,
you're like, what he said was.
I think what Oz is doing is, if he does have a chance to win, he's taking a safe position on cannabis. I mean, we've seen from polling, people are on board with it. It's easy as a Republican for him to get behind medical cannabis. I don't think you're going to see him evolving, Jason, to the adult use argument anytime soon.
He's already pivoted.
Like
Dr. Oz don't worry, we'll make it to the finish line.
Dr. Oz is just proving he'll say anything to get elected. That's what Dr. Oz is.
You know what it is? You know what it is? See, Gretchen only likes to call things certain things that she likes. And so for the point, since Gretchen's on today, we're gonna call this progress.
I call it a stretch. And on Fridays we like to be stretching with Gretchen.
Yeah, this is what you would call progress, Gretchen. I call it a pivot, but you can call it progress.
That's one way to spin it.
Yes, I'm spinning it that way, the right way.
Spin of progress. This is what progress looks like.
That's right.
Dr. Mehmet Oz is the most progressive candidate in the history of progress.
He's probably going to win too. What are you guys going to do then? He's probably going to win. Just saying.
But I'm not a Pennsylvania citizen, or I don't have roots there. What about
Gretchen,
you,
Gretchen?
I think it's going to be a very... No, I don't think he's going to win. I think regardless of his issues, Pennsylvania thinks he's a carpetbagger, and they're like, fuck him. So
they'd rather... so they're going to elect a vegetable over a carpetbagger.
Yes, they will. The vegetable had a stroke 2 days before the election and won his election with like 89% of the vote.
I don't know.
He's going to win because of the sympathy factor.
I think America's so into fucking celebrities anymore that I feel like he's a celebrity. Like, I think he'll win. I think he will.
And I think Nicole's right. I think people like characters. They like that he wears
a
Carhartt jacket to rallies instead of suits. I mean, if you want a man of the people, Fetterman's your guy. Dr. Oz is
Steve
not
Carell.
that.
Get Steve Carell out there, represent Dunder Mifflin, and he can write a better fucking campaign from a celebrity standpoint than Mehmet Oz. Like, yes, fucking Dr. Oz, man.
Speaking of doctors, is Dr. Talleyrand in Clubhouse too?
Dr. Talleyrand is present in Clubhouse. I don't know where Stone went. Are we gonna?
He's only a stone's throw away.
In Clubhouse,
but
because I want to hear his voice telling a story. Because he gives good story as well.
He does, but we'll put him we'll move him to the end, and then we'll get to Dr. Talleyrand. Yeah.
All right.
Stone's in the house of clubs.
Did he move to Clubhouse?
I don't know.
I just looked for him and I don't see him in Clubhouse. But I have Dr. Talleyrand's pulled up right here.
All right.
This doctor has been around so long that he probably wrote your parents' medical cannabis recommendation. This doctor has had more patients than liberals waiting in line at a President Biden book signing. The founder of Medican and co-founder of CESC, the nonprofit cannabis research organization. It is none other than the Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My headline today is Medical Students Have Little Knowledge About Cannabis, Study Finds, by Joe Roberts. This article is published in Cannabis Health. Researchers from Nova Southeastern University and Florida Atlantic University published the results of a qualitative study on the perceptions of cannabis by medical students in Florida. The goal of the study was to identify themes shared by the students that may be helpful in designing future curricula on medical cannabis. This study was one of the first to use qualitative interviews to explore student perspectives on medical cannabis. Qualitative studies focus on the why rather than the what. They use semi-structured questions in a natural setting to create an in-depth conversation and understanding of the topic. In this study, a total of 83 medical students in 8 focus groups were questioned through Zoom. The questions were designed to get an understanding of beliefs about the therapeutic benefit of cannabis, general knowledge about cannabis, and the potential role of the physician. Each focus group lasted between 60 and 75 minutes. Most of the medical students were in favor of rescheduling cannabis to something less than Schedule 1. Most were able to name a symptom or condition that might benefit from cannabis, and only a few could name a health condition that was contraindicated or had no benefit with cannabis use. Students did have concerns about the potential for cannabis addiction and long-term effects. Most said their source of information came from friends and family or through social media. Their medical school did not have courses on cannabis or the endocannabinoid system. The students were able to identify conditions including cancer, AIDS, pain management, irritable bowel syndrome, multiple sclerosis, and others that might benefit from cannabis. They also expressed concerns about the potential harms of cannabis. A lot of people recommended chilling out with medical cannabis, said one student, but it actually can evolve into a panic attack. Student perspectives range from concerns about addiction to a lack of trust in patients knowing what was medically best with their cannabis use. The researchers concluded that most students had erroneous beliefs about medical cannabis. They used unreliable sources of information and had mixed attitudes about legalization. The students also tended to confuse medical cannabis with recreational use. The researchers described the way the students spoke about medical cannabis as unsettling and based on unsubstantiated authority. Considering their confusion, the students were all interested in learning more. Most felt that their medical schools should offer medical cannabis training. They noted that even if a state does not have medical cannabis laws, they were likely to run into patients using cannabis sometime in their career and would like to be prepared. It's been over 40 years since the endocannabinoid system was discovered. Discoveries don't take this long to be included into a medical school curriculum. Outside of the stigma of cannabis, I'm concerned that some industries like pharma have too much influence on what is being taught at medical schools. This may be why schools are not offering a medical cannabis education. What are your thoughts? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with the High at Nine News and Opinion.
I think doctors aren't being taught enough of it at all because I've only had like one out of every like 12 doctors I've ever had in my life. And I've had a decent amount of specialists that have even been able to have a semi-educated conversation with me about cannabis and my body. And I know that there's increasingly more and more doctors that are not going to shit on you for it, but not aren't going to help you understand it, you know, and when you're going to your doctor to be able to ask a question about how something's going to affect your body that you're using as a medicine, I think is epically important. But at the same time, doctors don't know shit about fucking nutrition. When I go to talk to them about like a good diet, they're like, take this pill. And you're like, but can I like change the things, like maybe it's food or something? And they always look at you like you're crazy. And they're like, nah, take these drugs. So I don't think that it's just cannabis specifically. I think it's lack of wellness training for doctors, it feels like, or they're just willfully ignorant assholes and they don't care about us. I can't decide.
Well, I brought Nick Bradley up from the audience, and he knows a really fun fact about how many doctors are actually educated on cannabis. Nick Bradley, are you with us?
Yes, I actually had a discussion with my ER doctor 3 weeks ago. I was in for an elevated white blood cell count, and the very first thing the doctor came in and talked to me about was my excessively high THC numbers in my urine. So I started in on him and explained to him that only 13% of medical schools in the country have cannabis in their curriculum. So for doctors to speak on it with that type of prowess
Authority.
and
Authority.
Vitriol
is just it's irrelevant to my healing process, and it's just there to kind of make themselves feel like they're better than us.
It's a liability. It's a liability thing for them. They're literally all trying to cover their CYA.
Yep.
They're CYAing, and because they don't know, they're like, nope, it's bad. They don't know.
It's a detriment to your
Because they don't
healing
wanna lose money.
process because they don't want you to heal. They want to keep you in the wheel, in the system.
But I feel like it's less doctors that feel that way. It's the people that are training them that are doing that.
Yes.
They're being paid because cover your
Cover your
ass.
ass.
Because pharma's paying for the medical schools to teach them specific things. You know what I mean? Like that makes sense. I don't think doctors are out there as individuals being like, ha ha ha, I'm going to keep the people sick. You know,
I think a lot of they're doing their best.
This is
you know, with what they have, and they're fucking being taught that this
Not
is the
all of them.
way. Not all of them.
Not all of them. You're right.
We gotta move. We gotta move because we have Stone Slade in Clubhouse, so he is with us to present his story, and we only have a few minutes left.
Thank you to Dr. Talleyrand.
Thank you, Dr. Talleyrand, for that fascinating.
Thank you. Thank you. Kind of in line with that, my story today came from Kyle Yeager at Marijuana Moment. A peer-reviewed research article published in the journal PLOS One on Wednesday reports that the pharmaceutical industry takes a serious economic hit after each state legalizes cannabis, with an average market loss of nearly $10 billion for drug makers per legalization event, according to this first-of-its-kind study. The study looked at stock return and prescription drug sales data for 556 pharmaceutical companies from 1996 to 2019, analyzing market trends before and after medical and adult use cannabis legalization at the state level. The stock returns were 1.5 to 2% lower in 10 days after legalization. The study's authors found that the returns decreased in response to both medical and recreational adult use legalization for both generic and brand drug makers. Now, while 1.5 to 2% drop in drug company returns might not sound like a lot for the lucrative pharmaceutical industry, the authors said that the difference is statistically significant and persists during the 20 business days following legalization. The study says that we find the average change in a firm's market value per legalization event is $63 million, with a total impact on market value across firms per event of $9.8 billion. These findings coincide with many studies and reports signaling that some people use cannabis as an alternative to traditional pharmaceutical drugs like opioid-based painkillers and sleep medications. Earlier this year, for example, a research paper that analyzed Medicaid data on prescription drugs found that legalizing cannabis for adult use is associated with significant reductions in the use of prescription drugs for the treatment of multiple conditions. Researchers from California Polytech State and University of New Mexico say that the study findings cannabis entry decreases returns for both generic and brand drug makers is novel. By expanding access, thus use, legalization could permit cannabis to compete with conventional pharmaceuticals. Largely unpatentable, cannabis may act like a new generic entrant following medical legalization, leading some individuals to substitute away from other drugs towards cannabis. However, unlike a conventional new generic drug, cannabis use is not restricted to a single or limited set of conditions. This means that cannabis acts as a new entrant across many different drug markets simultaneously. Taking these findings a step further, the researchers also estimated that predicted annual prescription drug spending would have been $1 billion lower in 2014 if all 30 states without legal medical cannabis in 2014 had legalized medical cannabis. Now, these findings show exactly why Big Pharma has dumped so much money into lobbying against cannabis legalization. For private and public drug makers, we expect the response to legalization to include investment and marketing. Smart move by Pfizer. I skipped over, running out of time, citing the fact that Pfizer spent billions to acquire a biotech company that focuses on cannabinoid type therapies. Smart move by Pfizer, and the country continues to legalize at the state level. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more pharmaceutical companies jump on the if you can't beat them, join them bandwagon, which quite frankly, having pharmaceutical companies in cannabis scares the shit out of me. So while I'll take the small victory, I'm curious what Big Pharma has coming around the corner for federal legalization. There's also limitations to the study that were included, so I encourage you to give it a read if you have a chance. I'd love to hear what anybody has time to say. I'm Stone Slade, reporting for the High at 9 News Hour.
Thank you, Stone.
They've been here. There's a great story, Stone. They've been here for fucking ever. And they own over a third of the fucking patents in the entire industry. I think like big pharma, big alcohol, big tobacco, and big government. They're just waiting for the rest of us to fail, and they're going to buy everything pennies on the dollar.
But it's also the reason why we have to deschedule, not reschedule.
Trombone.
Correct.
Because
what is the famous hashtag, the tagline coming from Nichole
deschedule
West?
or bust. Deschedule or bust.
One more time.
Deschedule or bust. Like
Stone, I'm just
literally.
Go ahead,
I'm
Gretchen.
sorry, quick question. Stone, does it go into any detail about what drugs what ailments that specifically the pharmaceutical industry is losing money on?
It did not go into detail there.
I'd be willing to bet it's pain meds.
We have Dr. Mary Clifton up from the audience. And Dr. Mary Clifton, I need you to check your DMs because we need to get your contact information.
And it does go down.
Thank you. I knew that it was big money being lost by Big Pharma when cannabis legalizes, but I didn't realize it was this big. I mean, these are real numbers. And I think one of the most important comments that you made in your review of the article was that that cannabis comes into the industry from so many different directions. Like you were saying, it's not just pain, it's sleep, and it's also depression and anxiety, and it's also nausea from, chemotherapy or from gut issues. So, you can hit a lot of different drugs at once with the application of cannabis. It hits multiple places. So that's a fantastic article. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
awesome.
Billions.
Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on this, Dr. Talleyrand?
Yeah, I feel like cannabis industry are like the Ukrainians, and pharma is like the Russians, and the Ukrainians just made a nice counterattack.
So
very
Gretchen,
exciting news.
the data is available for the specific 13% of the replacement medications are opioids, 12% are anxiolytics,
Analytics.
ANXIOLYTICS.
Against anxiety. Yeah.
Oh, anxiety medication, and then 12% is antidepressant. So majority is opioids, but then anti-anxiety, and then antidepressant. 13, 12, and 12.
Incredible. Shout out to the versatility of cannabis sativa. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everyone. That was a really great show. Thank you for pivoting with us on that, Stone, and getting that headline in at the end. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today, and Liz Groh for coming in from Texas.
Hey,
yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you to cameras for letting me realize how hot Gretchen was, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. She was just a little bubble in my life for a long time. It's interesting. Thanks for becoming more than a bubble.
Things come from Pennsylvania, other than Dr. Oz. He doesn't come from Pennsylvania.
And El Guapo Tron 4000 made a very, very important highlight right there. And he said in related news, Takis sales are up.
That's great to know. Taki sales are up. Thank you, El Guapo, for tuning in and being our fucking religious
What's a
fan
Taki?
out there. 3 is 4 for making us look good. And all of our sponsors for helping us get some bills paid. And thank you again, Cannabis, for keeping us lit. It's Friday, guys. Fuck yeah.
It's now 1 p.m. on the East Coast, so it's no longer high noon.
Shout out to Rebecca Black.
Yeah,
And I would say
is over.
Happy Labor Day to all our folks out there.
Oh,
Without
yeah,
a
it's Labor
doubt.
Day this weekend.
Yes, it's Labor Day weekend. Turn up.
Are we on Monday or are we taking off?
Of course we're on Monday. We do
I feel like we
news.
should be on. It's the news.
Yes, we do news,
It's
bro.
fucking news, bro.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Ain't no
we
holidays
should
for news.
three is
Jason
4.
doesn't want to take it off because
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.